Hello, friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're stepping quietly into the secret lives of storm clouds, those towering, drifting giants that rise from whispers of warm air and breathy moisture. Born in stillness, shaped by the sky's slow dance, they gather strength not with hurry, but with patience, becoming thunderous storytellers, murmuring their tales across the horizon. Perhaps your day has been long, or maybe it's simply time to let the world soften, time to rest your thoughts and listen as the sky exhales. What's the weather like where you are tonight? Can you hear the distant hush of clouds folding into each other, or feel the gentle hush of air curling around your window pane? If you enjoy these quiet journeys through the poetry of weather, you're always welcome to like or subscribe. It helps other sleepy travelers find their way to this quiet corner of the sky. For now, there's nothing you need to do, no decisions to make, no forecasts to follow. Just breathe in and out, snuggle in close, let the clouds roll in, slowly, softly. We're about to begin. Every storm has a beginning, and that beginning is quiet. Tonight, we begin our journey in the gentle warmth that lives close to the surface of the earth. It's here, in this invisible cradle of heat, where every storm cloud first takes shape, not with a roar or flash, but with a sigh, a slow exhale of sun-warmed air that begins to drift upward. This rising motion is called a thermal, a pocket of warm air that grows lighter than the cooler air around it. It lifts softly, like a balloon let loose in a still room, seeking higher places where the sky is cooler and the air thins. As it rises, the warm air carries with it the tiniest cargo, microscopic droplets of water vapor, too small to see, too quiet to hear. But they are many, and as they ascend, they meet the cooler heights, where the temperature begins to whisper them into change. Cool air cannot hold as much, moisture as warm air. So, as the warm vapor cools, it condenses, tiny droplets forming around even tinier particles of dust and salt drifting in the atmosphere. And just like that, a cloud is born, not all at once, but slowly, gently, layer by layer, breath by breath. These clouds may look soft and weightless, but they carry immense beauty and power. The process is gradual, a kind of skyward blooming. And yet, it begins with something so simple: warmth meeting chill, lifting moisture into the sky's waiting arms. This is the atmosphere's quiet ballet. Invisible currents move with patience and purpose. Some thermals are weak, rising only a short distance before cooling and settling. Others are stronger, lifting higher, building clouds that grow taller with every passing moment. And so begins the birth of a storm, not in violence, but in stillness, not in noise, but in a tender exchange of air, temperature, and time. Above, the cloud continues to grow, its base resting just above the earth, its crown slowly climbing toward the blue. These early clouds are not yet thunderous. They are not yet wild. They are the early dreams of a sky considering what it might become. For now, let's drift quietly within this moment, inside the soft, invisible currents that rise with the warmth of the day, and watch with closed eyes as the first whispers of cloud begin to gather. The birthplace of storms is not a place of fear. It's a place of transformation, and it all begins with a single breath of warm air. As day unfolds and warmth rises gently from the ground, a new shape appears in the sky: cumulus clouds. They puff into view like soft thoughts on a summer breeze, rounded, cotton white, and drifting slowly across blue. These are the dreamers of the daylight sky, the first sign that the atmosphere is in motion. Cumulus clouds form when rising thermals carry moisture high enough to cool and condense, just as we learned. But here, the result is visible, playful, and ever-changing. They bloom like flowers in the sky, each one shaped by the wind, the warmth, and the whims of the air around them. You might have seen them on a lazy afternoon, dotting the sky like sheep in a quiet pasture. Light filters through their edges. Shadows dance on the ground below. They are familiar and gentle, comforting. But some of these clouds begin to grow. Under the right conditions, a cumulus cloud becomes more than just a dream. It starts to rise, layer by layer, its base darkening slightly, its top climbing higher into the troposphere. Moisture continues to rise from below, feeding the cloud's upward push. As it builds, it may evolve into a towering presence, a sign of the sky's slow awakening. It's not a storm just yet, but it's thinking about it. These clouds are called cumulus congestus, taller, deeper cousins of the flatter cumulus humilis. Still soft, but with ambition. Still drifting, but beginning to stretch. They are the quiet precursors to more powerful forms, a cloud with a goal, a traveller just beginning its journey. And yet, even in their early stages, they remain gentle. We can float among them, weightless, listening to the hush of air moving upward, watching the sunlight dance through their folds. The birth of a storm doesn't begin with a thunderclap. It begins with cumulus dreams, soft shapes in motion, carried by invisible hands. Let's drift here a little longer, among the first signs of skyward change, and wait for the next chapter of the storm to take shape. Now we rise higher, and the cloud rises with us. Where once there was a puffy cumulus, now there stands a titan, a cumulonimbus cloud, tall and expansive, stretching miles into the sky. Its top spreads outward in all directions, flattened like an anvil. This is the storm fully grown. But it didn't arrive suddenly. It evolved slowly, nurtured by rising air, by moisture, by warmth from below. The base is still dark, where cool air gathers. The middle is thick and dense, filled with rising columns of vapor and icy crystals. And the top, the anvil, is formed when the cloud reaches the tropopause, the boundary between the troposphere and the stratosphere. Here, it cannot rise further, so it spreads out like a floating island of cloud. The cloud is alive with motion. Updrafts spiral quietly within. Tiny droplets freeze into crystals. Some fall gently. Others are caught and lifted again. Electricity begins to build, softly, silently. Charge separates within the cloud, but we'll speak more of that another night. For now, we are simply observers, drifting beside a cloud so vast it touches both earth and sky. This is the heart of the storm, and it is breathtaking in its stillness. Inside a storm cloud, the sky is not still. It breathes slowly, rhythmically, drawing in and letting go. These breaths take the form of updrafts and downdrafts, gentle currents of air moving upward and downward in a balanced celestial rhythm. Let's begin with the updraft, the rising breath of the cloud. It starts when warm, moist air near the surface is lifted upward. The higher it rises, the cooler the air becomes, allowing water vapor to condense into cloud droplets. Each droplet adds a tiny bit of energy to the air, releasing latent heat as it forms. This warmth helps the air continue rising, like a balloon gently gaining altitude. And so the cloud builds, slowly, softly, skyward. Updrafts are the architects of the storm. They carry moisture, they shape the cloud's towering form, and they keep it growing, one invisible lift at a time. But every inhale is followed by an exhale. That's where downdrafts begin, the gentle downward breath. As raindrops form and grow heavy within the cloud, gravity begins to tug them downward. Some evaporate as they fall through drier air, cooling the surrounding atmosphere. This cooler, denser air sinks, flowing downward in long, trailing streams. These are the downdrafts, cooler air sliding earthward, bringing with it rain, and sometimes a soft wind that rustles the trees below. Updrafts and downdrafts often exist side by side, swirling past each other within the same towering cloud. One breathes life into the storm, the other returns that breath to the earth. Together, they create a kind of balance, a looping, layered circulation. In mature storms, this dance becomes even more organized. The updraft tilts slightly as wind patterns aloft begin to shear it sideways. Downdrafts form below, cooling the surface and sometimes spreading out in gentle gusts of air known as outflow. These cool winds often precede the rain, arriving like a sigh before the drops. To the eye, these movements are hidden. But if you were to float inside the cloud, as we are now, you'd feel the subtle push and pull. The lift of warm air rising beside you, the hush of cool, rain-cooled air sinking past. The cloud is alive, not with chaos, but with breath. Let's rest here, in the center of the cloud's rhythm. Let it breathe around you, up and down, inhale and exhale. The storm is still growing, but for now we are floating, carried on the quiet breath of the sky. Every raindrop has a secret beginning. It doesn't start as water. It doesn't even start as vapor. It begins with something smaller, something invisible, something we call cloud condensation nuclei. Let's drift gently now, closer, closer still, until we arrive at a place too small for the naked eye. Here, suspended in the air, are tiny specks, fragments of dust, bits of salt from sea spray, pollen, smoke particles from distant fires. They float silently, carried by wind, unnoticed by most. But the clouds, they notice. These particles, so tiny and weightless, act as gathering points for water vapor. When warm air rises and cools, the vapor needs something to hold on to, something to begin its transformation into liquid. And these tiny specks are just the right size and texture. Water molecules begin to cling to them, just a few at first, then more, until a droplet forms. Not yet rain, but something new, a beginning. Without these particles, clouds could not form so easily. The sky might hold vapor, but it would stay invisible. It's these microscopic seeds that allow clouds to blossom. Over oceans, salt crystals are common nuclei, carried upward from sea spray. Over forests, bits of organic matter fill the air. In deserts, dust from faraway dunes becomes the quiet heart of a cloud. Even volcanoes, fires, and human activity can contribute particles, adding to the mix of ingredients in the sky's recipe. And though they are hidden, these nuclei are everywhere. Each one tells a story, a piece of ocean, a leaf from a distant tree, a grain of earth carried on the wind. Now, imagine the cloud from within, billions of droplets forming, each one holding a tiny particle at its center. The cloud looks soft and white from below, but up close, it's a symphony of formation, built from the smallest things. Let's rest here, inside the heart of a single droplet. The air is cool and quiet. Around us, more droplets form, suspended like pearls in a sea of mist. This is the secret world of cloud condensation nuclei, the unseen beginning of every drop, the hidden heart of the sky. High above, in the upper reaches of the storm, something ancient begins to stir, not in words, not in sound, but in light. Lightning, the storm's secret language. Let's float into the heart of the cloud, deep inside a towering cumulonimbus, where updrafts and downdrafts swirl past each other like slow, circling dancers. Here, temperatures drop well below freezing, and tiny ice crystals collide within the storm's icy top layers. With each gentle collision, a tiny spark of separation occurs. Some particles become positively charged, others become negative. These charges drift apart, carried by the cloud's hidden winds, some rising, others sinking. Over time, this separation builds into something powerful. A quiet tension spreads across the cloud. It's not frightening. It's like static on a wool blanket, soft and invisible, but growing. Eventually, the difference becomes too great to hold. A path begins to form, narrow, branching, searching, connecting charges across the cloud or down to the earth. And then, in one brief moment, the cloud speaks. A flash of light, a release of energy, a thread of brightness drawn across the sky. That is lightning, a sentence in the storm's glowing language. Sometimes it speaks cloud to cloud, sometimes sky to ground. Always it speaks without sound, until the thunder follows, echoing softly behind. But for now, we're far away. We see only the flicker, distant and dreamy, like the flash of a lighthouse in a sea of clouds. Let the cloud speak, let the sky shimmer, and let your thoughts drift with it. We've just witnessed a flicker of lightning, a brief whisper of brightness across the sky. Now we wait and listen. Thunder follows, not with a roar, but with a hush that rolls across the landscape, like a soft drumbeat from far away. Tonight, we won't think of thunder as loud or jarring. We'll drift with its gentler side, the echo of energy released, the tender voice of the sky breathing out after a flash of light. Thunder begins when lightning warms the air around it, instantly and intensely. In less than a blink, the air can heat to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. But don't worry, this heat is not here to harm. It's brief and quiet, like a match struck in a deep cave. The air expands rapidly, then contracts again, creating a wave, a ripple of sound that travels slowly through the atmosphere. That ripple is thunder, but it doesn't arrive all at once. If you listen closely, you'll hear layers. First a distant pop, then a rolling swell, and finally a fading rumble that seems to wrap around you like a long, trailing sigh. Thunder is shaped by the land it travels over, by hills and valleys, forests and fields. It echoes off clouds. It dances through open skies. In the mountains, it can sound like a distant drum. Over water, it becomes a low, velvety pulse. Sometimes, the storm is too far for us to see the lightning, but we hear the thunder anyway, soft and slow, like the sky turning over in its sleep. This is not a sound to fear. This is the voice of balance, the cloud releasing what it built, restoring stillness after a bright electric thought. And if you've ever felt it in your bones, a tiny flutter in your chest, as the rumble passes, you've touched something ancient. Thunder has echoed through skies for as long as clouds have gathered. It's a sound we've always known. Now, let's lie back and imagine the sky above us stretching wide and open. A flash, then silence, and then, slowly, a rolling murmur, gentle and low, moving through the sky like a sleepy yawn. Let it pass overhead. Let it guide you deeper into rest. Thunder, the storm's quiet, reply. The storm is exhaling now, and from its breath come the raindrops. Let's drift beside them, not as hurried messengers, but as floating companions, falling with grace, tumbling through the sky. Raindrops don't fall as teardrops, even though we often draw them that way. They begin as spheres, rounded gems, shaped by surface tension, cradled in the air as they descend. Tiny droplets form when cloud vapor gathers and grows. Some collide with others and merge, becoming heavier, rounder. Eventually, gravity invites them downward, and they let go. As they fall, the smallest drops remain nearly perfect spheres. The larger ones flatten slightly at the bottom, stretched by the air beneath them, like little parachutes of water. But even in their descent, they are calm, controlled, peaceful. The journey from cloud to earth is not instant. Some raindrops drift lazily, swaying in invisible breezes. Others fall more directly, carving quiet paths through the air. They make no sound up. Here, only when they meet rooftops, trees, and windows do they begin to sing. A soft patter, a rhythmic hush, a lullaby written in droplets. Each drop carries the story of its cloud, of warmth and rising air, of invisible seeds and slow formation. And now it offers itself to the world below, to soil, to rivers, to leaves waiting in silence. Rain nourishes, it cools, it quiets. Some drops fall on sleeping gardens, others trace paths down glass. Some join streams, some disappear into thirsty earth. As we drift with them, we feel their softness. We see how they catch the light, tiny, glistening travelers. Not hurried, not loud, just falling with purpose and peace. Let's follow them all the way down until they land and vanish. High above the earth, in the quieter layers of the sky, something beautiful is happening. It looks like rain, but it isn't. Or rather, it begins as rain, soft droplets falling from a cloud's underside. But along the way, it changes. This is virga, a lovely word for something poetic. Rain that falls and disappears before it ever reaches the ground. Let's float near one of these trails. You'll see it easily in the right light, a wispy streak beneath a cloud, like silver thread unraveling toward the earth. But as it falls, it fades, vanishing into nothingness before it can touch soil. Why does this happen? As rain descends, it sometimes falls through layers of dry air. If the air is dry enough, the droplets begin to evaporate, turning back into vapor before they reach the ground. It's a quiet process, invisible to those below. But from above, it's a beautiful sigh, a disappearing act of the atmosphere. Virga doesn't make a sound. There's no patter on the roof, no dampness on the path, just a promise of rain that was never quite fulfilled. But it still matters. Even as it fades, virga cools the air around it. It moistens the sky. It leaves a trace. And for those watching, it paints a picture of a cloud dreaming of rain. So let's follow one of these trails now, downward until it thins, until it vanishes, leaving only a whisper, a thread of water unwound. Virga, the rain that falls but never lands. Storms do not sleep. Even after the sun has gone and the world below lies hushed and dark, the sky remains quietly alive. Somewhere above, towering cumulonimbus clouds still roam, vast, slow-moving beings drifting across the night. We rise now into the shadowed sky, where the edges of clouds blur into the blackness. Here floats a midnight anvil, the wide, flattened crown of a mature storm. In daylight, it is dramatic and imposing, but at night it becomes mysterious, subtle, almost soft. Faint pulses of lightning flicker within the cloud's heart, lighting it from the inside like a paper lantern. There is no thunder from this distance, only light. A slow, silvery glow that comes and goes like a breath. You may have seen it before. a storm on the horizon, flashing silently against the stars. This is heat. Lightning, though that name is a little misleading. It's not caused by heat, but by distance. The lightning is real, it's just too far for the sound to reach you. The result is something quiet and dreamlike, a silent storm, a slow conversation between cloud and sky. From beneath, the cloud is a canopy of motion. You may not see it, but you feel its presence. A living ceiling stretched across the night. And inside, the storm continues its quiet work. Updrafts rising, raindrops forming, ice crystals drifting, electric charges slowly separating. The anvil shape is a sign that the cloud has reached the top of the troposphere. It has grown as tall as it can. Now, with nowhere left to rise, it spreads, wide, layered, and grand. At night, it glows like ink touched by moonlight, dark and luminous all at once. Let's drift beneath it now, slowly, without fear. There is no danger here, only wonder. Lightning flickers again, soft and brief. For a moment, we glimpse the architecture of the cloud, pillars of moisture, wisps of vapor, pockets of icy breath. Then the glow fades, and the sky goes still. Storms do not sleep, but they do dream, and tonight we are part of that dream. Tonight we lie beneath the belly of the storm. Above us hangs a strange and beautiful sight. Mammatus clouds, soft, pouch-like billows that dangle from the underside of a cloud, like hundreds of downturned bowls or skyward lanterns. They are rarely seen, and even more rarely understood. But here, in the calm after the storm's passage, they appear like a sculpture left behind by the sky. Let's rise gently toward them, slowly floating through their rounded forms. Mammatus clouds are formed when sinking air within the cloud cools and carries moisture downward, rather than upward as most clouds do. The result is these curious lobes, shaped by subtle turbulence and shifting temperatures. They hang in soft silence, glowing golden in evening light, or pale blue beneath the moon. They may look heavy, but they float like everything else in the sky, weightless and wide. No two are alike. Some are shallow and smooth, others are deep and textured. Each one is molded by invisible hands, wind, temperature, and moisture, carving softly downward. Despite their appearance, mammatus clouds are not dangerous. They do not bring storms. They are often signs that the storm has passed, leaving behind only sky art in its wake. From beneath, they seem close enough to touch, as if the sky is reaching down to cradle the world, showing its softer side after the wind and rain. Let's lie back now and look up. Watch as the pouches shift, ever so slightly, swaying with the sky's hidden breath. They are beautiful, they are rare, and tonight they are ours to float through. The wind is still, but something is coming. As we gaze across the horizon, a shape begins to form. Long, low, wide, like a dark curtain being drawn slowly across the sky. This is a shelf cloud, the leading edge of a thunderstorm. It doesn't rush in, but rolls gently, like a slow tide gathering strength. Let's glide beneath it now, quietly, like a bird drifting ahead of the storm. Shelf clouds are formed by cool downdrafts spilling outward from a storm. As this cooler air spreads, it pushes into warmer, moist air ahead of the system. The warm air lifts, condenses, and forms this dramatic, horizontal structure, a dark arc sweeping across the sky. From below, it feels like entering a vaulted room of wind and vapor. Shadows deepen, the air grows still. There's a pause, a breath the sky takes before it exhales. You may feel a soft gust, a cool touch on the cheek. That's the gust front, the air racing ahead of the rain. It's not loud, but present. Not harsh, but certain. The shelf cloud is not the storm itself, but its herald. It tells us that rain is coming, that the sky is preparing to shift. But here, in this moment, there is only quiet anticipation. The underside of the shelf cloud is textured, layered with streaks and ruffles. Light struggles through in places, creating bands of silver and grey. As we move with it, we remain calm, sheltered by understanding. The shelf cloud is not to be feared. It's simply part of the sky's rhythm, a curtain before a scene change, a hush before the song. Let's rest beneath it a while longer and feel the first soft stirrings of wind. The storm will arrive when it's ready. For now, we float, and we wait. Sometimes, the sky moves in a way that seems entirely unlike a storm. It rolls, it turns, it glides. Tonight, we follow a rare and beautiful traveller, the roll cloud. Stretching across the horizon like a sky serpent asleep, a roll cloud forms in a long, horizontal tube. It rotates gently along its axis, appearing as if the sky is rolling itself into a scroll. And yet, despite its dramatic form, this cloud is calm, quiet, peaceful. Roll clouds are not part of the storm's core. They form along the edges, where warm air is, lifted over cool outflow from a previous storm. That rising motion, gentle and horizontal, causes the air to condense into a tube-shaped structure that can span for miles. But it doesn't bring thunder. It doesn't even bring rain. It simply drifts, slowly, spinning as it goes, like a great sky dragon gliding over silent fields. From the ground, you might see it coming, low and long, with a smooth surface that undulates ever so slightly. There's something surreal about it, as if the sky has come alive in a single ribbon of motion. We rise gently now, matching its pace. No rush, no resistance. Inside, the air is soft. The roll cloud turns around us, but never pulls. It's a loop, a sky wheel, a band of air shaped by the quiet aftermath of distant storms. Beneath us, the land waits silently. Meadows, plains, rooftops bathed in early light, or the hush of dusk. And above, the roll cloud continues its slow, solitary path. Some call it the dragon of the sky. Others, a wave made of air. But here, we see it as a dancer, alone, suspended, and free. Let's follow it a little longer. No destination, no demand, just the endless turning breath of calm. There's a moment just before the rain arrives. The world is still. The sky feels heavy, full of unsaid things. And then a breeze, cooler than the air before it. Soft at first, then gently growing. It brushes the trees, stirs the grass, and lifts a strand of hair. This is the gust front, a gentle but noticeable change. A breath of wind that flows out ahead of a storm, arriving before the first drop of rain ever touches the ground. Let's pause in that moment. Let's feel the air shift. The gust front is born from the downdrafts within a storm. Cool air pushed downward by falling rain and evaporating moisture. When it reaches the ground, it spreads outward in all directions, like a tide of coolness moving beneath the warmer air. It's not chaotic. It doesn't crash. It whispers. But you feel it. You might notice a sudden hush, birds quieting, leaves turning to show their lighter sides. The temperature dips slightly. The pressure shifts. It's as though the storm is exhaling, slowly, sending word ahead of its arrival. From above, the gust front creates a visible line, sometimes marked by a shelf cloud, sometimes just an invisible edge, dividing stillness from wind. We drift beside it now, carried along the boundary between two worlds. To one side, the storm, to the other, the waiting earth, and in between, the breeze, cool, calm, and unspoken. You felt this before, even if you didn't know its name. It's a gentle nudge, a silent curtain being pulled back. The wind without warning. But here, in this space, it brings no rush. Only clarity, only breath. Deep within the folds of a storm, something quiet and powerful sometimes occurs. It's not a flash. It's not a roar. It is downward motion, sudden and strong, a hidden waterfall of wind. This is the microburst. Tonight, we listen to it, not as something to fear, but as a marvel of nature's breath. Microbursts begin high in the cloud, where cool air gathers and accelerates downward. Sometimes, rain begins to fall into a layer of very dry air. As it evaporates, the air cools rapidly, becoming heavier and denser until it falls. It doesn't tumble with chaos, it descends, straight, swift, silent. When this column of air reaches the ground, it spreads outward in all directions, like a ripple in still water. Trees may sway, grass may flatten, and petals may scatter, but to the cloud, it is a release, a letting go. From above, we can see the downward column forming, a shaft of wind and mist, dropping quickly, then blossoming as it touches the earth. Microbursts don't last long, only minutes, but they shape the land in those moments. They bend tall grasses, they stir branches. Sometimes they surprise the world below, but up here we simply observe. We listen to the air as it falls, not loudly, but with purpose. It is not rage, it is not warning, it is breath, compressed, released, returned. Some storms hide this power within their calmest centers, but tonight we see it, we understand it, and we drift gently alongside it. No rush, no fear, just wind falling through silence. The rain has passed. You can feel it in the way the air settles, in the hush that drapes the trees, in the softened soil beneath your feet. The storm has exhaled, and now we rest in the cool breath it leaves behind. Let's float gently now to the surface of the earth, where fresh rain has cooled the land, and the air carries a scent you may know but rarely name: petrichor. It's the earthy fragrance that follows rainfall, a quiet perfume released from the soil when raindrops strike dry ground. The name comes from ancient words, Petra, meaning stone, and ichor, the lifeblood of the gods, a name as poetic as the scent itself. This rain-cooled air is not just cooler in temperature, it's denser, heavier, and calmer. It pools gently at the surface, spreading softly through fields, down streets, across meadows. It brings with it a sense of renewal, of pause, of something having been washed clean. As we lie within it, the world feels different, quieter, softer. You might notice birds returning to the trees, their wings brushing droplets from leaves, or the way light reflects on puddles like silver glass. This air was once high in the storm, lifted, chilled, wrapped in cloud. It descended as rain and now rests at the surface, cooling everything it touches. Farmers feel it on their skin. Forests drink it in. It whispers across rooftops and slips through open windows. Storms are not all thunder and wind. Sometimes they leave a gift behind, a breath of calm, drawn from the highest parts of the sky, returned to earth in stillness. And for just a little while, everything slows. Let's stay here together, in this hush after the rain. Close your eyes, breathe in. The storm has sighed, and so may you. The sky is not a single canvas. It is a gallery of layers, each one a world of its own, each playing a role in the unfolding atmosphere. Tonight, we rise softly through these layers, exploring the orchestra of clouds that accompany a storm. First, we pass through stratus, the low blanket. These clouds lie close to the ground, like a grey veil drawn across the landscape. They may bring drizzle, mist, or just a soft dimming of the sun. They are quiet clouds, gentle and steady. Above them, we find altostratus, a mid-level sheet stretched across the sky, often appearing as a soft filter between sunlight and earth. These clouds can signal a storm's approach, and though they do not rumble, they hum with quiet tension. They often spread ahead of a warm front, laying the foundation for what's to come. Higher still, cirrus clouds float, wisps of ice stretched thin across the upper sky. They shimmer like threads of silk, trailing far above the rest. These clouds are delicate, almost not there at all, but their presence is meaningful. They're the quiet heralds of change, often appearing a day or two before deeper weather arrives. As we drift through these layers, we see how they interact, not chaotically, but in harmony. A storm is not one cloud alone, but a composition, a symphony of moisture, motion, and height. Cumulus may rise through stratus. Altostratus may drape across the horizon, while cirrus lingers above. The atmosphere stacks itself gently, creating patterns we feel more than see. These layers build mood, they shape the late, soften the wind, and prepare the sky for what may come next. From below, it may look overcast. From within, it is exquisite. Let's float here, in the spaces between, and listen as the clouds play their quiet song. Tonight, we rise, upward through layers of vapor and light, beyond the reach of birds, through the tallest clouds the earth can build. Higher still, until we reach the ceiling of the troposphere, the layer of sky where weather lives and breathes. The troposphere is the lowermost layer of the atmosphere, extending from Earth's surface to about 7 to 12 miles high, depending on where you are in the world. It is here that nearly all clouds, winds, and storms form. It's a restless space, full of motion, warm air rising, cold air sinking, moisture condensing. And at the very top, the clouds press upward and stop. This is the tropopause, an invisible boundary where the rules change. Above it lies the stratosphere, a realm more stable, where weather rarely stirs. Let's hover here, at the edge of the breathable sky. The cloud below us is a towering cumulonimbus, its top spread wide into the shape of an anvil, flattened by this invisible ceiling. It has nowhere higher to go, so it spills outward, forming a silvery cap stretched across the sky. Inside, the air is cold, well below freezing. Ice crystals float in slow motion. The wind thins. The sunlight glows through translucent walls of vapor. We are higher than any raindrop will fall, higher than thunder can travel. Up here, it's quiet, timeless. The earth below is a memory. The stratosphere above is still. And here, at the very top of the troposphere, we find the final breath of the storm's ascent. Let's rest a moment where clouds meet their limit, where the sky says, this is as high as weather may rise, and where silence folds around us like a blanket of air. Not all storms move in straight lines. Some storms turn. Tonight, we rise into the heart of one of nature's most mesmerizing formations, the supercell, a vast, slow-spinning cloud structure, towering, graceful, balanced. A storm, yes, but more than that, a spiral. Supercells are rare. They are the sculptors of the sky, storms with a core that rotates. Not wildly, not chaotically, but steadily, like a sleepy carousel turning in the air. Let's float gently alongside one. From a distance, the supercell looks like a cathedral of vapor. Its base is wide and dark. Its top spreads like wings across the highest reaches of the troposphere. In between, a column begins to twist, not tightly, but with purpose, slowly, endlessly. This slow rotation is what sets the supercell apart. While other storms may come and go in bursts, the supercell is more persistent, more organized. It is held together by a single spiraling heartbeat. The rotation begins when wind at different altitudes blows in different directions. This creates a subtle horizontal spin in the air. Rising updrafts tilt this spinning air vertically, forming a rotating column inside the storm. This is the beginning of something beautiful. The storm builds around it, rain forming on one side, hail on another. Lightning flickers, thunder murmurs, but through it all, the spiral continues, calm and constant. We drift beside it now, just outside its turning wall. The air is charged, but not harsh. The cloud breathes with a rhythm of its own. An inhale of warm, rising air, an exhale of rain. Cooled wind. Some supercells may go on to produce severe weather, but we are not here to rush into danger. We're here to witness the structure, the serenity in the spiral, the way the sky slowly spins its story. A storm that turns is a storm that dreams. Let's stay beside it, watching it drift, turning ever so gently, like a wheel in the sky, a supercell, a storm, a spiral. Within the supercell, something quiet and mesmerizing begins to form. It is not a roar. It is not a gust. It is a spiral, a mesocyclone, a rotating column of rising air, the very core of the supercell's graceful spin. Let's enter now, gently, no rush, just floating forward into the spiral's heart. The mesocyclone is not violent. It is not yet a tornado. It is larger, slower, and softer, like a whirlpool in the sky. Rising air curves around a central axis, pulled gently by the difference in winds above and below. This is how the storm maintains its structure. Air enters from the surface, warm and humid. It is drawn upward in a wide, slow spiral. As it rises, it cools and condenses, forming the cloud's central column. Around us, you can see the curve, walls of vapor bending, drifting, turning. The rotation helps the storm last longer. It keeps the updraft and downdraft separated, allowing the storm to breathe, inhale, and exhale without interruption. We drift through the mesocyclone as if inside a cathedral of air. The motion is gentle, like leaves caught in a lazy eddy. This spiral is the storm's center of balance. It is what makes the supercell so enduring, so majestic. From above, it looks like a coiled shell. From within, it feels like floating in a great turning breath. Let's rest inside its rhythm. Let's feel the slow spin of sky and silence. The mesocyclone, quiet power in a circular dance. Beneath the base of the storm, something begins to lower. It's not a gust, not a flash. It's a presence, a wall cloud, low-hanging, broad, and slow-moving. A quiet mystery that forms just below the storm's rotating center. Let's glide down now, gently beneath it. Wall clouds are often mistaken for danger, but they are first and foremost signs of structure, of air being drawn upward into the heart of the storm. This lowering forms when moist air at the surface is pulled quickly into the storm's updraft. As it rises, it cools and condenses more quickly than the rest of the cloud base, forming a lowered, rotating platform. From below, it feels like standing beneath a dome of breath. It can be massive, miles wide, rotating subtly, darkened by shadow and moisture. It hovers quietly, a gathering point for wind, vapor, and change. Sometimes, a wall cloud is a prelude to something more, but often it remains as it is, a striking, still formation suspended in the air, speaking only in shape. We move slowly beneath it. The air is thick but calm. The world feels smaller, as though the ceiling has lowered. And yet, it's peaceful here. There's a weight to it. Not heaviness, but presence. Like the sky leaning in, whispering close. Wall clouds are rare, beautiful, mysterious. And tonight, we simply float beneath one, listening to its silence. No rush, no fear, only awe, only air. The sky speaks in shapes. It draws lines and curves across the horizon, painting messages in motion. Tonight, we listen closely to two of its most expressive forms, the shelf cloud and the wall cloud. Each tells its own quiet story. Each offers a different sign. Let's drift now between the two, feeling their subtle differences, their unique textures, their silent purpose. The shelf cloud comes first. It's wide, sweeping, horizontal, a low, dark band that glides ahead of the storm. From below, it feels like standing beneath a long, curving overhang. The air around it cools, the wind picks up, and everything seems to lean forward, just slightly, as if the sky is preparing to speak. Shelf clouds are born from downdrafts, cool air spilling out from a storm and pushing warm air upward. This rising motion condenses into a horizontal formation, a kind of arrival curtain for the storm behind it. They are motion in transit, not trouble, an introduction. And now, the wall cloud. It forms in a different way, beneath the storm's updraft, not ahead of it. Unlike the shelf cloud's forward sweep, the wall cloud hangs like a moody pendant, vertical, rounded and slow turning. It gathers moist air rising quickly into the storm, condensing it into a lowered, rotating structure. Wall clouds feel closer, more intimate. They press downward from the storm's heart, often signaling rotation within. Where the shelf cloud announces, the wall cloud whispers. One is wind's boundary, the other is breath's funnel. Shelf clouds stretch, wall clouds descend. Both can exist in the same storm, each telling a different part of the story. From above, we see them clearly. Two gestures from the same hand, two expressions of the storm's evolving thought. Neither is to be feared. Both are to be read. Let's float between them, suspended in still air. One to our left, sweeping. One to our right, lowering. Balanced between motion and mood. And in their quiet shapes, we read the language of the sky. From a distance, it looks like silk. Long, trailing strands reaching from the clouds to the earth, moving gently in the wind. These are rain curtains, also called veils. And tonight, we pass through them. Let's drift closer now. Rain doesn't always fall in straight lines. When viewed from afar, especially across a wide plain or valley, it takes on a soft, trailing appearance. You've seen it before, like wisps of grey hanging from the sky, swaying slowly with the breeze. These rain curtains form when showers fall in concentrated bands or sheets. The droplets are too small to see individually, but together they create the illusion of a translucent wall, delicate and ever-changing. As we float through one, the air grows cooler. Moisture clings gently to our skin. The light around us changes, diffused, refracted, golden if the sun is low. Rain veils shimmer when lit from the side. At sunset, they catch the light in layers of amber and rose. At twilight, they deepen into shades of lavender and slate. Sometimes, multiple veils fall side by side, each a slightly different shade, each shaped by wind and terrain. They ripple like soft fabric, stitched into the storm's flowing skirt. You may also notice virga, rain veils that vanish before touching the ground, ghosts of rainfall fading into dry air. But when the rain reaches the earth, it does so quietly, each drop a footfall on soil, each veil a hush descending from the sky. Let's linger here, suspended in silver, watching the rain fall, not in torrents, but in threads, curtains drawn gently between cloud and earth. Storms, like breaths, can be layered. Some storms release not one, but two descending drafts, separate streams of air moving downward in quiet coordination. These are double downdrafts, and tonight we drift between them. Let's imagine the storm as a living presence, breathing in and breathing out. Within it, the downdraft is its exhale, but sometimes there is more than one. The first is the precipitation-driven downdraft, formed as rain and hail fall through the air, pulling cooler air with them. As this moisture evaporates, it chills the surrounding air, creating a shaft of descent. This downdraft is widespread and smooth, like a cool hand sweeping across the land. The second is more focused. It's called the rear flank downdraft, shaped not just by rain, but by the storm's internal winds and temperature differences. It forms closer to the storm's center, where rotation often occurs. Together, these two downdrafts shape the structure of the storm. They work in tandem, like dancers circling one another, balancing the updrafts that rise elsewhere in the cloud. We float between them now, one to our left, cool and broad, the other to our right, strong and spiraling. They do not clash, they complement. The air swirls gently, droplets fall in slow motion. Light bends around each column of descending breath. In some cases, this dual downdraft structure helps form the conditions for rotation, but tonight we are not rushing to conclusions. We are only observing the harmony. Two streams of air, two paths of descent, a duet in the sky's language. We drift between them like a leaf between dancers. No fear, only balance, only breath. High above the storm, where the sky thins and the air grows still, the cloud reaches its limit. But it does not stop. It spreads. Tonight, we ride the edge of the anvil cloud, a wide, flat canopy that forms at the top of a towering thunderstorm. It's shaped by the storm's ascent, rising until it meets the ceiling of the troposphere. And then, with nowhere else to go, it begins to stretch outward, always downwind, always drifting east. Let's float with it. The anvil cloud forms when a cumulonimbus storm grows tall enough to reach the tropopause, the invisible boundary between the weather-filled troposphere and the calmer stratosphere above. This layer is like a lid on the storm, a place where warm, rising air can no longer continue upward. So the storm adapts. It spreads its top into a thin, gliding veil. From a distance, this anvil appears like a feather laid flat against the sky, wide and smooth, pale at the edges. Its movement is slow, steady, pushed gently by upper-level winds that carry its icy wisps eastward. And it is cold up here. Ice crystals drift through the upper atmosphere, suspended in silence. Sunlight filters through them, scattering into halos and subtle arcs. Sometimes, the anvil glows gold at sunset, or blushes pink before twilight. It may look peaceful, and it is, but it is also a quiet architect. Beneath it, shadows form. Beneath it, outflows spread. It marks the maturity of the storm, a sign that it has reached its full breadth. From our place, beside it, we see the entire structure, the storm below, still rumbling softly, the anvil above, unfurling like a silken map. We glide along its leading edge, where tendrils of vapor curl and drift away from the heart of the storm. Not in haste, not in warning, just the slow eastward stretch of a cloud that has touched its skyward boundary and now floats outward in thought. Let's follow it, just a little longer, along the edge of the anvil's dream. Most clouds know their limits, but sometimes one reaches just a little higher. Tonight, we witness a rare and powerful moment in the life of a storm, a phenomenon called the overshooting top. It begins at the crown of a cumulonimbus, where the cloud meets the tropopause. Normally, this is where clouds flatten, forming the anvil. But occasionally, the updraft is so strong, so full of energy, that it pushes past this ceiling, piercing into the stratosphere for just a moment before settling back. What we see is a dome, a bubble rising from the flat anvil, glowing softly with light. It pulses, slowly, like the breath of something dreaming deep within the sky. Let's rise toward it now, gently, without haste. Inside, the air is turbulent, but not chaotic. Moisture spirals upward in strong vertical currents, forming towers of vapor and crystal. This is the heart of the storm's updraft, rising faster than the air around it, refusing to settle. The overshooting top is brief. It may last minutes, sometimes only seconds. But while it exists, it tells a story of immense upward motion, of energy rising, then folding quietly back into the storm. From here, we see the top illuminated, sometimes by lightning from below, casting it in silver light. Other times, it glows from within, painted with the last hues of sunset. It does not roar, it does not fall, it simply rises, beyond what was thought possible, then softens, drifting back into the cloud from which it came. A single upward note in the sky's slow song. Let's rest at its edge, where silence hums and wind holds its breath, and watch the cloud that reached higher. Deep within the folds of the storm, where updrafts swirl and air churns in circles, something small and powerful is forming. A hailstone, not born in fury, but grown in layers, like a pearl suspended in the sky. Let's drift into the hidden nurseries of hail, pockets within the cloud, where water and wind sculpt icy orbs with quiet precision. It begins with a seed, a tiny particle, perhaps a speck of dust or a fragment of ice. Caught in the storm's updraft, it rises through moisture-laden air. The droplet clings, the cold bites, and a thin layer of ice begins to form. Then it falls, just slightly, through colder air, collecting more moisture along the way. The updraft lifts it again. It rises, freezes, falls, and rises once more, a quiet cycle repeating within the storm's arms. With every loop, a new layer is added. Clear ice when the freeze is slow. Cloudy ice when the freeze is fast. Over time, this seed becomes something more, solid, rounded, heavy. The storm holds it aloft as long as it can, but eventually, gravity whispers louder than the wind. The hailstone slips from its path and begins to fall. Some are small, like pearls. Others grow larger, like marbles or stones. All carry the memory of the loops that shaped them. We follow one now, up, down, around again. The wind sings softly in each turn, and when it falls, it does so with grace. Not to strike, but to return, to end its spiral, to join the earth. Let's watch as it disappears through the mist below, and remember the quiet place in the cloud where it began. The nursery of hail, a hidden cradle of ice and time. Not all frozen rain is hard. Some falls like whispers, small, rounded, weightless. Tonight, we float with Grauple, the softer cousin of hail, less known, but no less beautiful. Grauple begins like hail, deep within a storm. A tiny ice crystal forms and is carried upward by an updraft, passing through pockets of moisture and supercooled water. Droplets so cold, they remain liquid even below freezing. When these supercooled droplets touch the ice crystal, they freeze on contact, not in sharp layers, but in a soft, rime-like coating One droplet, then another, then hundreds, piling up like snow on a branch. The result is a small, pillowy pellet, rounded, frosted, soft to the touch. Graupel is sometimes mistaken for snow, or even sleet, but it's neither. It is its own quiet kind of precipitation, a snowflake kissed by ice, cradled in cloud, and gently released. Let's drift down with them now. The graupel falls slowly, cushioned by air, tumbling like downy feathers. You might hear it as a faint tapping on leaves or rooftops, but never a clang. It arrives without fanfare, without force. Each pellet is light and fleeting. If you catch one, it may melt before you can truly hold it. Graupel forms best in cold, convective clouds, where there is enough lift to keep crystals aloft and enough moisture to build their coating. It's a dance between upward wind and falling flake, a quiet collaboration. And when it falls, it often signals a sky that is shifting, perhaps from snow to rain, or from calm to storm. But for now, it simply falls peacefully. Let's imagine the air filled with them, tiny, soft beads of white, drifting through the grey. No rush, no sound but the hush of falling. We lie still, letting the graupel pass around us like the gentlest of snowfall. The storm speaks softly tonight, and graupel is its lullaby. Before the first raindrop touches the ground, something rises, a scent, subtle, earthy, ancient. This is petrichor, the smell of rain, a soft perfume released by the earth when it senses water returning. Let's lie close to the ground now, where soil meets air. The storm is near, but not yet here. The sky is grey, the wind still, and then the scent begins. Petrichor forms when rain falls on dry soil. Tiny molecules, called geosmin, produced by bacteria in the earth, are stirred by the falling droplets. These molecules rise upward, carried gently by the air, and reach our senses as something we can't quite name, but instantly recognize. It smells like memory, like home, like the forest after a summer storm, or a dusty road kissed by rain. Petrichor is more than just geosmin. Oils from plants, accumulated during dry periods, are also released by the first drops. These oils rise as aerosols, mixing with the geosmin, creating a layered fragrance that is at once earthy and clean. You may smell it just before the rain arrives, carried on a gust, or rising up in quiet waves. Let's breathe it in together. The air is thicker now, sweetened by stone and seed. Raindrops begin to fall, slow, scattered, wide apart, and as they strike the earth, the scent deepens. It unfolds. It settles around us like a warm shawl. Petrichor doesn't shout. It's a whisper from the ground, a sigh from the soil. It tells us that the rain has come not just to fall, but to reunite. Sky and earth, once separate, now joined again, through breath and scent. Let's rest in that moment. Let's smell the rain as the earth awakens. High above, a storm stirs. Within it, charges build, quietly, patiently. The cloud grows restless with energy, though it hides it well. No flash yet, no sound, only potential. Tonight, we follow a single bolt of lightning on its journey, from its whispered beginnings inside the cloud to the moment it touches the earth. It starts with ice. Deep in the storm, ice crystals and hailstones swirl within strong updrafts and downdrafts. As they collide, electrons are stripped away, separating charges inside the cloud. Lighter particles rise, becoming positively charged. Heavier ones sink, gathering negative charge below. The result is a growing imbalance, invisible tension, a storm waiting to speak. Then, a thread begins to form. It is called a stepped leader, a narrow, jagged path of negative charge that reaches downward from the cloud in sudden, faint pulses. You cannot see it with your eye. It moves too quickly, too dimly, but it is there, searching, reaching. From the ground, an upward streamer rises to meet it, a finger of positive charge drawn upward by the leader's approach. When they connect, the circuit is complete, and in an instant, energy flows through the path. This is the return stroke, the part we see, a brilliant flash, brighter than anything else in the sky. It moves upward from ground to cloud, illuminating the entire channel, filling the sky with sudden white. But by the time we see it, it has already happened. Lightning travels in thousandths of a second. What we observe is the storm's memory. Thunder will come later, rolling across the landscape like a slow exhale. But for now, we linger in the light. From our place above, we see the full journey, the cloud-building charge, the leader seeking, the strike returning, not with violence, but with precision, with purpose. Let's follow the path downward, tracing the air's forgotten roads, then rest in the silence after the flash. The lightning has spoken, and now the night listens. Winter has its own kind of storm, quieter, slower, but no less powerful. Tonight, we drift into one of nature's rarest and most mesmerizing events, thunder snow, a snowstorm lit by lightning, where thunder rolls across a frozen world. Let's step gently into this wintry night. The snow is falling in thick, steady flakes. The world is muffled, hushed. Every sound is softened by a blanket of white. Trees bow under the weight of it. Roads and rooftops blur beneath its cover. It is quiet until the sky flashes. A sudden burst of light, followed moments later by a distant, echoing rumble. Thunder. Snowstorms, by their nature, are usually too cold and stable to produce lightning. But sometimes, when just the right ingredients come together, warm air rising through cold, strong, vertical, motion, abundant moisture, lightning is born, even in the snow. It feels otherworldly, the kind of moment where sound and silence share the sky. Inside the cloud, it is no different than any other storm. Ice particles swirl, charges build, and lightning forms. But below, everything has changed. The snow absorbs the thunder, muting it, stretching it, so it sounds less like a clap and more like a roll, a breath, a distant drumbeat wrapped in wool. We float gently through the storm now, suspended between flakes. The lightning flashes again, painting the snow in sudden silver. Each flake catches the light before returning to shadow. There is no fear here, only wonder. Thunder snow is rare, precious. A storm caught between seasons, between noise and quiet. It reminds us that even in the stillest landscapes, the sky still stirs, still speaks, still dreams aloud. Let's listen to it together. Let the snow fall, let the thunder roll, and let the night hold us gently in its snowy hush. The sun is low. Its golden light stretches long across the land, brushing treetops, rooftops, and rivers in warm hues. And high above, a storm cloud waits, painted by the last light of day. Tonight, we watch the sky transform. This is the hour where time slows. The thunderhead rises tall, a cumulonimbus fully grown. But instead of shadows and grey, it is now lit from the side, touched by sunlight that glows orange at the base, lavender in the middle, and rose along its crown. The cloud becomes a sculpture. Sunset brings out its textures, pillars, folds, sweeping edges that would remain hidden in midday light. What was once opaque now glows from within, as if the sky itself is remembering something. We drift slowly around it, tracing the contours of this floating mountain. Each edge catches a different color, Each ripple reflects a softer version of the day. Sometimes, lightning still flickers inside, brief, electric veins beneath a sky of gold. The contrast is striking, but not harsh. The warm light softens everything. As the sun sinks further, the colors deepen. Rose becomes plum, gold becomes bronze, and then blue. The storm remains, but now it is a silhouette. We've watched its transformation from day to dusk, from light to shadow, a farewell storm wrapped in warmth. Let's stay with it just a little longer and watch as it slips into the arms of night. Now, let's rise far above it all, higher than the storm tops, higher than the jet stream, higher than the clouds, all the way into orbit, where Earth becomes a blue sphere beneath us, curved and glowing, turning slowly through the black of space. From here, storms look different. They do not flash or rumble. They do not feel heavy. From this distance, they bloom, soft spirals of white, drifting slowly across continents and oceans. This is the view satellites see, and tonight we drift alongside them. A hurricane appears first, its vast, coiling arms stretching hundreds of miles. The eye is calm, still, a circle of quiet at the center of motion. The clouds wrap around it like a seashell, turning in wide, endless loops. Elsewhere, thunderstorms sparkle like tiny flashes of silver, fleeting bursts of light flickering in the deep night. They pulse like fireflies scattered across the tropics. Even the anvil-shaped clouds are visible here, flattened towers with long shadows cast across the upper atmosphere. Everything is in motion, but nothing rushes. From up here, the storms are not threats. They are patterns, living brushstrokes on the canvas of Earth. We see mountain ranges beneath them, oceans reflecting their shadows, cities glowing faintly along coasts. It is peaceful to watch the weather from this high. No roar, no wind, only silence, only shape. Let's drift in orbit a while longer, watching the Earth turn, watching the storms swirl, not as warnings, but as wonder. The sky listens, and sometimes, with great care, we can offer it a gentle suggestion. Tonight, we explore the soft science of cloud seeding, not a disruption, but an invitation, a whispered nudge to the clouds, asking if they might like to rain. Cloud seeding begins with possibility, a sky filled with moisture, a cloud full of potential, but not yet ready to release its gift. When conditions are just right, scientists introduce particles into the atmosphere, tiny crystals of silver iodide, or flakes of dry ice. These materials mimic what nature already uses, small structures that water vapor can cling to. They act as artificial condensation nuclei, the seeds around which droplets can form, grow, and eventually fall as rain or snow. Let's drift up now into one of these seeded clouds. From within, it feels no different, soft, silent, spacious. But tiny changes are taking place. Water gathers more quickly, droplets grow heavier, the cloud becomes just a little more eager to let go, and soon, with no noise or flash, it rains. The process is delicate. It doesn't create storms, it only enhances what's already there. A sky that's almost ready, almost full, is gently persuaded to share. This is not control, it's cooperation. Humans watching the sky, understanding its rhythms, and offering a quiet nudge in return. Cloud seeding is used in drought relief, in snowfall enhancement, even in efforts to clear fog at airports, but always with intention, always with restraint. As we float through this altered cloud, we see no machines, no struggle, only chemistry made kind, only science shaped like a whisper. The sky, after all, cannot be commanded, but sometimes it can be invited. Far from land, where the horizon stretches in every direction, storms take on a different character. Tonight, we drift out to sea, following a lone cumulonimbus as it grows above open water. There are no cities here, no mountains, no roads or trees, just sky and sea. Maritime storms begin like any other, with warmth and moisture rising into cooler air. But over the ocean, that moisture is endless. The sea feeds the sky with a quiet generosity, allowing the cloud to grow tall, wide, and undisturbed. We watch it form, a single tower in an otherwise empty sky. Its base is dark, shadowed by the weight of water. Its crown reaches high into the atmosphere, blooming into an anvil that spreads over distant waves. And then, lightning. It flashes not with violence, but with grace. A bright flicker reflected across the ocean's surface, mirrored in gentle ripples. Each bolt lights up the water for just a moment, revealing waves, clouds, and the soft curve of the earth. The thunder follows, low and muffled, absorbed by open air. Out here, the storm is alone, and it is beautiful. Winds shift. Rain begins to fall, wide drops tapping on water, leaving concentric rings. No rooftops to strike, no streets to flood, just ocean, receiving the storm with quiet patience. Some maritime storms drift for hours, others dissolve into mist. All leave behind a trail of cooled air, rising steam, and a sea that remembers. Let's follow this one a little longer. Past islands, past ships, past sound. A single cloud traveling across the blue. Even cities can stir the sky. Tonight, we drift above a sleeping metropolis, where streets still glow and towers stretch upward like fingers reaching for cloud. Here, the storm is not born from forests or fields, but from heat, rising softly from the city itself. This is the urban heat island effect, where buildings, pavement, and rooftops retain warmth long after the sun has set. The city exhales, slowly, steadily, warming the air above it. This rising warmth can lift moisture higher into the atmosphere, helping clouds form. Combined with pollution particles, which act as condensation nuclei, the ingredients for a localized storm begin to gather. Let's float between the buildings now. The air is still, but humid. Lights shimmer through haze. And above, a cloud begins to swell. Not large, not loud, but present. Drops begin to fall. They strike window panes, rooftops, leaves in city gardens. The storm is brief but intimate, drawn up from concrete, shaped by architecture, encouraged by human warmth. Even our cities have breath. They change the air, they lift the sky, and sometimes they make it rain. Urban storms are small, often unnoticed, but they matter. They cool overheated streets. They cleanse the air. They remind us that nature is not somewhere else. It is here, between traffic lights and rooftop gardens, moving through avenues and alleyways. Let's rise above the skyline now. The storm fades behind us, leaving puddles and petrichor on sidewalks below. And the city sleeps. Under clouds it helped create. Every storm has a story, a beginning, a middle, an end. Tonight, we drift through the life cycle of a thunderstorm, not as spectators of chaos, but as quiet companions, watching a sky-bound life unfold in stillness and grace. It begins in warmth. The sun heats the ground, and the ground warms the air just above it. This warm air begins to rise, slowly, invisibly, carrying moisture upward into cooler altitudes. This is the cumulus stage. Tiny droplets begin to condense. A cloud forms. Not yet dramatic, not yet loud, just a puffy shape, gathering height, breath by breath. It's a newborn in the sky, held aloft by updrafts, columns of rising air that lift it higher with each passing minute. Then the storm matures. It becomes a cumulonimbus, tall, towering, expansive. Rain begins to fall. Lightning flickers softly within. Thunder rolls in distant waves. This is the mature stage. Here, the storm is at its strongest. Updrafts continue, but now downdrafts form too, cooler air sinking, carrying raindrops with it. The storm breathes in and out, balanced by rise and fall. It casts long shadows. It nourishes the land below. And then it begins to let go. This is the dissipating stage. The updrafts weaken. The downdrafts take over. Rain lightens. The cloud begins to collapse in on itself, folding downward in soft trails of vapor. The storm is no longer building, only releasing. It does not end in a flash. It ends in a hush. Just as a flower blooms and then fades, so does the storm. Let's float with it now, from its first breath to its last. A life lived in the sky. While storms move across the sky, they bring more than rain and wind. They bring shadows. Tonight, we follow the long, gentle silhouettes cast by towering storm clouds. We don't look up, we look down, to where the light is painted by the forms above. Imagine a late afternoon. The sun is low. A thunderhead rises in the distance, tall and sculpted, its edges lit gold. As it drifts across the sky, it casts a shadow that moves across the land like a dancer's hand. We glide with that shadow, over quiet hills and waving grasses, over barns and rooftops, lakes and forests. It cools the ground beneath it, offering a brief reprieve from the sun. Trees sigh into stillness. Birds grow quiet. The world softens for a moment. Shadows from clouds are not sharp. They feather at the edges, blending light and dark like watercolor on paper. And when clouds grow thick and heavy, the light takes on a bluish tone, a calm dimness, as if dusk has arrived early. We watch the shadows stretch and change as the storm passes overhead. Sometimes it moves slowly. Other times it glides with wind's rhythm, always graceful, always temporary. Let's lie on the earth now and watch it pass over us. A ballet of sky and sunlight. A slow motion waltz across the land. The rain has fallen, the wind has passed, and now the sky begins to clear. Tonight, we walk with the clouds in retreat as they soften, pull apart, and drift toward the edges of the world. It begins with light, a break in the cloud deck, a single beam of sun reaching down through parted grey. You may have seen it, shafts of golden light filtering through as if the sky itself is opening. These are crepuscular rays, sunlight made visible by moisture and dust, pouring through the gaps like heavenly curtains. The clouds, once thick and brooding, are now lighter. Wisps curl around their edges. The air smells clean, washed by rain, sweetened by earth. Birdsong returns. Drips fall from leaves. And somewhere, far above, the last drops shimmer and vanish. We rise gently through the breaking cloud cover. From within, the clouds look like cotton unraveling, each one floating in a different direction, as if unsure where to go next. Some linger longer, catching the fading sun in pink and peach. Others dissolve into the blue, leaving no trace. This is the quiet exit, the curtain falling, the breath after the crescendo. The storm has passed, but it leaves behind a peace that wasn't there before. Let's walk in that peace. Let's drift in the hush that follows. Let the clouds retreat, and let us rest. The storm has passed, but something lingers. Tonight, we end our journey with a quiet truth, that every storm, no matter how small or grand, leaves something behind, a memory. The sky does not forget. Even as the clouds vanish and the air grows still, the patterns remain, the shapes, the traces, the gentle shifts in wind and soil and scent. We float now through a calm and open sky, looking not for what is present, but for what was. Here, on the ground, moisture seeps into roots, nourishing seeds that waited through drought. Puddles glisten in moonlight, slowly shrinking, reflecting stars. In the air, the pressure has changed. The breeze is cooler, the leaves remember how they danced. Birds emerge slowly, calling not in alarm, but in curiosity. Creatures stretch, blink, and begin again. Above, the clouds are thin, stretched like fabric. Only hints of the storm remain, curved shadows, drifting cirrus, the last breath of a cloud that once rumbled with thunder. Meteorologists call these traces outflow boundaries or gust fronts, precipitation trails or residual moisture fields. But here, we simply call them memory, a shape in the grass, a pattern in the sky, a silence that wasn't there before. Even the air smells different. Rain has its own signature, but so does the after, that cool, clean hush, that soft, expansive feeling where everything seems freshly folded, like bedsheets turned down for sleep. The earth has taken a breath, and now so do we. Every storm has a cycle, every cloud a path, and every weathered sky a story. We've followed those stories, quietly, patiently, through vapor and wind, light and shadow, warmth and fall. We've watched clouds rise and fall. We've floated through spirals, sheets of rain, and soft ribbons of lightning. We've drifted with droplets. We've rested in the hush between thunder. And now the journey ends, but the sky continues, always watching, always whispering, always remembering. Let's lie back one final time, with the clouds far above and the earth below. Let your breath match the rhythm of the wind, slow and steady. The storm may be gone, but its memory rests all around you, in light, in scent, in soil, in stillness. The sky never forgets, and now neither do we. Close your eyes, let the last cloud pass, and drift. And as we reach the end of our gentle journey through the lives of storm clouds, may the quiet rhythms of the sky stay with you, like a soft wind lingering in the trees after the rain. Perhaps something tonight brought you comfort, a new understanding, or maybe just a slow breath and a softer place to land. Storms may rise and pass, but the peace that follows is its own kind of gift. And here, in this quiet moment, you found your way to stillness. If you'd like to support more dreamy weather journeys, you're always welcome to like or subscribe, but only if it feels right, only if the wind carries you that way. For now, you can rest. Let your body feel safe and warm. Let your thoughts settle like evening mist. Let your breath soften with the clouds. You've wandered through thunder, light and rain, and now the sky has stilled. Peaceful dreams and calm skies to you.